Okay, it's 8 o'clock now, so I can begin this first morning talk of this rains retreat. At least this morning's raining anyway. So, in order to enjoy what we call meditation, it's good to have a little bit of an overview. Yesterday or last night, just talking about the background, a little bit of almost like meditation housekeeping before we begin the meditation. Many of you have been meditating for many years, some people for the first time. It doesn't really matter, we can always if you've been meditating many times, you can always improve some of the ideas and skills of meditation. But first of all, to make it very clear what meditation is, if you like, a goal of meditation, I hesitated to use the word goal because it means people get something to strive towards. But, let's call it a goal, is stillness. The meaning of the word for samadhi, the last factor of the Eightfold Path. As I did mention yesterday, please don't ever think it's concentration, because concentration takes far too much force. And it was the reason why, just one story out of many, that when I went to Malaysia for the first time teaching, that I was very surprised that people complained about meditation headache. And I couldn't understand what they were talking about, because for me meditation was just so relaxing, so peaceful, so enjoyable. It's what you do to overcome headaches, to get past them, not to actually create more of a headache. And some people said that their partner came back from meditation retreat and they were much worse than when they went. Or the last little anecdote, there was this professor from Stanford University. I just caught up with him again just last June over in Toronto. And years ago, when I was in Sydney just doing a little bit of a conference on meditation, he gave this wonderful little anecdote that he got funding from the university. Stanford University is one of the best funded universities in the world. And so he managed to find the funding to do an experiment on mindfulness. And so he got many students, they gave them credits. Instead of having to do assignments, they can go on these experiments. And the experiment was, he divided the group into two, and half of those they sent to a one-day meditation retreat. And the other half they sent to a California spa, where they got massages, hot baths. I don't know what else you get in a spa. I've never been in one, honestly. So I'm not quite sure what else you get, but that's what the other half got, a California spa, all paid for by the university. And at the end of the day, they gave them a test, a standard psychology test, to find out who was the most relaxed. And it was so obvious, very clear, that those who went to the spa were far more relaxed than those who came on the meditation retreat. And there's stories like that. What the heck are people teaching as meditation or mindfulness? So please, it's not about concentration or force. It's about stillness. This beautiful stillness. And for those of you who have experienced stillness outside, in other words, the rain has stopped. The birds are still, probably drying off in the trees. Not worrying whether they're not coming out yet. No cars, no aircraft. When I stop, sound stops. It's beautiful stillness. And that has always been just something about stillness. Doesn't know what religion, what path, or what spirituality you come from. Sometimes the stillness is just so embracing, peaceful, it's profound. So that is one of the reasons why that we try to find places like caves to meditate in, deserts, quiet places, because in that silence it tends to resonate and bring up some stillness from within you. So many stories about stillness. Well, I'll get this out of the way now. I always tell this every retreat, that just like many people, you have all these questions about, what is the right path, the wrong path, what enlightenment means, what you should be doing, the meaning of life, what real Buddhism is, what fake Buddhism is, what you should be doing. Have so many questions, but sometimes it's difficult to find someone who you can trust, who can give a straight answer, and someone who's got credibility. So as a young monk, I heard of not just Ajahn Chah, I've heard what he had to say about these things, but there was also another monk called Ajahn Tate. He was one of my favourite monks, even though I only went to see him twice. And I first heard about him just when I first became a monk, and he was one of the very early disciples of this teacher Ajahn Brahm, and that he had cancer, and he was being treated in Sirirat Hospital, just on the opposite side of the river from the Grand Palace, and that he was sponsored. His treatment was sponsored by the king, but no matter what he did, there was no hope for him. He was terminal, nothing he could do. So they stopped all treatment, and he told the doctors, "I'd prefer to die in my monastery by the Mekong River, just outside of Sri Chiang Mai, that's in Udon province, not the Chiang Mai in the north, and to die there." So he went. There's a very interesting monastery because he was there during the Vietnam War, or just afterwards, and one day they were actually in the hall there, just these little anecdotes which you hear, they were in the hall there doing their chanting in the evening, and a machine gun started to come into the hall, and just you can see all the pockmarks on the wall, and everyone had to go down, including Ajahn Tate, dive down. And then afterwards, they were from across the river on the Laotian side, they were firing into the monastery. And then the words came out in Lao, translated as, "Turn that noisy generator down. We can't get any rest on this side of the river." They weren't trying to kill the monks. They were just complaining that when they were doing the chanting, they had to have the generator going to get the lights in the hall. These are days before electricity. So they were not shooting the monks. They were just trying to target the generator, but they weren't very good shots. I really love Laotian people because, they were also, I'm going on to anecdotes now. In Laos, one of my favourite stories there was one of the monks I knew. He's an English monk, he's a drug dealer, but then so he decided to, he got enough money and he went to live in Luang Prabang. He eventually became a monk. You could actually see just the problems of someone living by wrong livelihood. It took him about 3 or 4 years before his mind became clear. He was just in a haze all the time. But anyway, he told me he was in Luang Prabang. This was in 1970s, just after the Vietnam War. No, actually during the Vietnam War. And he was in one of these wonderful little cafes, very popular, would never ever pass any health and safety regulations in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, or any place like that. Just very filthy, but delicious food. So there he was, having his lunch, and the table next to him was some of the government soldiers, the army, who were at war with the communists. The Pathet Lao, the communists were called. And they were having their lunch, and then what happened? Into the restaurant came the communist soldiers, the Pathet Lao. This was war. And so he wanted to dive under the table. I remember him telling me that. I thought I should dive under the table. We looked at the royalist soldiers, and they were just carrying on eating their lunch. Even though the communists had just come in, they just carried on eating as if nothing happened. And the same as the communist soldiers, they just got on another table and ordered their lunch. Because in Laos, war stops for lunch. It's a very advanced culture. I don't know what happened afterwards, but I think they had an agreement that, because the communists were left-leaning, they would go to the left when they went out, and the government, because they were right-wing, they would go to the right, so they wouldn't meet each other afterwards. A gentleman's agreement. But anyway, so that was what. Anyway, this monk. He went back to his monastery to die, and it took him about 25, 30 years before he passed away. There's something about just going home and just having a nice peaceful life. But anyway, he's obviously a really, really great monk, and had lots and lots of good reputation. So, when I had the opportunity, I went to go and see him. And of course, you have all these questions you really want to ask. No, you're not going to have more than 10 or 15 minutes to have like a personal interview with this monk. So all these questions I really, really wanted to ask, very deep ones. And as soon as I had to wait until I could get the audience, and when I went in, my mind went totally blank. No questions were necessary. I had this beautiful feeling of just acceptance, peace. What do you want a question for? And it was from there that somebody else told me the simile afterwards, and it explained it just so beautifully. It was a simile of people with spikes. Every human being has got spikes coming out of their body, but they're invisible. You can't see them, but you can feel them sometimes. Sometimes there's people with really, really sharp, long spikes. They come into the room and everybody can feel uncomfortable. You feel scratched in their presence. Most people have got average spikes. Yeah, you can just have a cup of coffee with them, but get too close, ask too many personal questions, you get scratched. There are some people who are just really, really soft. You go so close to them, but get too close, you've gone too far in invading personal space. And there are some beings which have got no spikes at all. And that was one of them. You felt just so safe, so accepted, so you didn't need to improve or to be anybody. You had this beautiful sense of acceptance for who you are. You did not need to improve. It's the old story of unconditional love and acceptance, being at peace. And it was such obviously nothing which was spoken, but just something which was just felt, that where's all the questions gone? All the questions come because you're not at peace. They don't actually get you anywhere when you get an answer. You know what it's like. You ask one question, you get an answer, and you get two more questions coming up next. You just watch that question box in the evening. Doesn't matter how long we spend, there's always more questions the next day. But that's good, you need to do that, it's a bit of fun as well. But to be able to be so peaceful and so still, you don't have any questions left, there's no questions. And it's always actually answering the place where questions come from on a much deeper level. And that was because it's so peaceful, so still, so kind. The kindness and the stillness go together. When you're really kind, you feel safe, you feel accepted. You don't need any questions. You're just enjoying that moment. And it was one of those times when, the thought came up in my mind, I am not leaving this spot in this room in front of that monk. They'd have to get an elephant and chain me, and the elephant would have a hard time pulling me out of that room. It was a wonderful sense of you feel at peace, kind, accepted, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to improve. Stillness. So when you get your head around this thing about stillness, kindness, they must always go together. Concentration is a lot of hate, a lot of ill will, forcing. I don't want to be here, I want to be somewhere else. Stillness is being at peace where you are. Concentration is always looking into the future somewhere, trying to get something. Stillness is just learning how to be at peace where you are. It's beautiful to be able to understand that this is coming towards the heart of what this meditation is. Concentration is done because this sense of you, that you need something to do, you're not good enough, you've got to attain something more, you've got to get another certificate, as I said last night. Instead, we just learn, let go, disappear, vanish, get lost. So my favourite greetings to people. At the end of the retreat, I'll tell you all to get lost. In a very kind and meaningful way. and so get eliminated. So all that really means is we're learning how just to be and to be still. For many people, that just goes against everything you've ever done in your life. Even to get here, you had to plan, to strive, you had to get either yourself on the computer, just waiting to book in, because these retreats are very hard to get into, or you know someone who can do it for you. So it's sometimes you have to really focus, and you have to get all your permissions and time off work and books, airline tickets and all sorts of other stuff. It's a lot of work just to get here, but now you're here, this is where all that work stops. You've got nothing to do. Your food, all you've got to do is just eat it. Bianca cooks it, you eat it. It's called sort of, synergy. That's your job, to do the eating. So it's a beautiful little opportunity here to do nothing, but it's amazing how difficult it is to do nothing. So much so that you're sitting there. I just remember a seminar I gave a long time ago about weekends. In a place like Australia, we have weekends. We even have long weekends. You know what happens on a Friday? You're just at work. It's a long weekend. Where are you going? Nowhere. What do you mean? Oh, can you come and help me? Because I'm moving. I need some help just mowing the lawn or whatever. It's amazing. This is supposed to be a rest period, but people don't know how to rest. And you've got all your jobs to do. Take the kids this place and that place. So what has gone wrong with our society? We don't know just how to just literally chill out. Even you go somewhere and you have to, where are you going? Have a cup of coffee, talk about something, whatever. Can't you just sit there and do nothing? I used to, over in Bodignano, on the opposite side of the road, I used to stay in one of these huts. It's the old A-frame, it's not there anymore. But I used to sit there in the apex there on a Friday night and watch all the cars go down the Southwest Highway, going down south for the weekend on a Friday night. And on Sunday evening, see all the same cars come back again. I thought, what a waste of time. You pay all this money for a home, a house. Why is it on the first opportunity you have to run away and go somewhere else? There's no place like home. Your bed, your pillow is the most comfortable in the whole world. So why do people always run away at the first opportunity? What are we running away from? Because we do the same in meditation sometimes. You're here, nice time for relax, bit of peace. We want to go and get something, do something. Justify ourselves when we go back. You go back and say, what happened on the retreat? What did you get out of it? You say, nothing. And people think you're crazy. So we're always trying to improve ourselves, to get on in the world, to do something, to get somewhere. And that brings me on to that little saying, a former monk, he caught me out, I don't mind admitting my stupidity, that I was carrying a lot of papers into the office in our city centre, and he asked me, just a standard greeting in the West, how are you going, Ajahn Brahm? And I said, I'm getting there. Have you ever replied like that? I'm getting there. And then he really hit me verbally by saying, exactly where are you getting to, Ajahn Brahm? And I said, my grave, that's where I'm going to at this rate. So I try never to do that anymore. I'm not doing something to get somewhere. So these days, he asked me, how are you? I said, I'm being here. It's a much better answer than getting somewhere, being here. So, to be here means you're still. Going somewhere means you're agitated. Yeah, I travel around a lot, but when I travel, I just sit still. I don't fly from here to Thailand or from here to London or from here to Sri Lanka. I just sit in the chair. And the plane is the one which moves. I don't move. You put on the eye shades and my earplugs, sit down, just like being in Jhana Grove. The only thing is, when I wake up, I'm in a different country. I never flew. The plane flew. I was just being still. So stillness, peace, that's really the meaning of this retreat. So when you get it in your head, stillness, 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 it is a restraint of this thing which always wants to do something, go somewhere, get something. Instead of we stop that, say, no, I'm just going to be here. I'm not going to try and develop myself. That's looking into the future. I'm just going to be here. Be here and see what happens. So, the main simile, I gave you that simile of Ajahn Chah's. This was my simile. Stillness, can you do this one? Yeah, can do. The water, I do this in every retreat, so I say get out the old similes straight away and then I can tick them off and done. The water in the plastic bottle. So, the water represents my mind, and my job is to get my mind to be still. That's a job, stillness. So, has the water stopped moving yet? And the answer obviously is no, it's still moving. You know why? Because I'm not being mindful, am I? I'm now going to be mindful. Has it stopped moving yet? No, because I'm not concentrating. So now I concentrate. I always get a laugh when I do this. But honestly, I'm not making this up. When I concentrate and try to hold this water still, it moves more. Try it yourself. Weird, isn't it? My goal is to try and keep this still, but when I try, it moves more. And anyway, no matter what I do, however I try, this water will never become still if I hold it like this. And the reason is it's just basic anatomy. You know, your muscles are always moving. It's metabolism. So there'll always be some sort of vibration, so you can never hold this perfectly still. In fact, the idea of holding it, grasping it, and trying to make it still is wrong. So it's so easy to do. All you do is just put it down. Let it go. Detach. Renounce. Stop holding on to things. And then you find that water becomes perfectly still. There's no way you could ever hold it that still. It's called letting go. Let things go, and stillness becomes the default state. It's what happens when you stop doing things. It's not what you get when you do things and try and strive. It's what happens when you relax. This is a weird part of meditation retreats. I'm just going to get past a question which comes up later on. When people say, oh, Ajahn Brahm, sort of I meditate here and my mind's always really restless and I can't really get peaceful. But as soon as I go to bed at night, as soon as I lay down, I get these beautiful lights and nimittas and it's so peaceful. Why? It should be really obvious that when you're meditating, you're trying to get something. And of course, when you lay down, you just let go, you give up. And that is such an important part of meditation that it became the key to Ananda becoming enlightened. So I'm now going to describe the Ananda method of meditation, very powerful, the Ananda way to become enlightened. And Ananda, many of you would know, was a chief disciple by the way, chief disciple, the chief attendant of the Buddha. 25 years he was sitting next to the Buddha, and all these people were coming up, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, laymen, laywomen, coming up and telling all these incredible experiences they had. They were becoming streamliners and once-returners, non-returners, arahats, flying through the air, doing crazy tricks and all that sort of stuff. And this little fellow, Ananda, nothing. Imagine what it must be like. You see all your friends, sort of becoming enlightened, and you still at stage one. So, when the Buddha passed away, that was it. That was devastating. Poor old Ananda, 25 years in the presence of the greatest teacher, hadn't got enlightened. What hope would there be for him now? 3 months later, was it 3 months, 4 months later, 5 months later, they decided, actually it was 3 months later, they decided to have a big conference, a get-together, so they could bring all the teachings together. And they had the first Buddhist conference. 500 people were invited. 499 fully enlightened arahats. And Ananda was the 500th, the odd one out. And often to understand what he must have felt like. Imagine at the end of this retreat, I made the announcement that everybody on this retreat was fully enlightened with psychic powers, except for you. How would you feel? You would think, oh, that really is not good enough. And some people just come in just for the first time, and they just get all these things, and you've been here, you've been a Buddhist ever since you came out of your mother's womb, and still not enlightened, give all this dana, all this sacrifice, been to so many retreats, and it's not fair. So there it was the following day. Ananda had to go to this meeting, the odd one out, 499 fully enlightened beings, and one Ananda who wasn't enlightened. So, what would you do? What Ananda did was, so embarrassed, he decided, right, tonight's the night, I'm going to really go for it. He meditated all night, no sleep, really went for it. Every trick in the book, everything he'd learned from the Lord Buddha, every type of meditation. In the morning when the dawn came up, nothing, absolutely nothing. So, disappointed. He knew there was another hour or two before the meeting was going to start. So what to do? What would you do? Take a nap. So he went to his room and he lay down, and before his head hit the pillow, wham bam, when he gave up and he wasn't trying anymore, wham bam, fully enlightened. Leaving it to the last moment, but that's good enough. And so, what he did next, he said, my friends aren't really going to believe me. So he decided to, on purpose, arrive late. So they'd already locked the door. Thought he was late, not coming. 499 fully enlightened beings were inside the hall. And Ananda, he did what we call making an entrance. He came in through the keyhole. A beam of light through the keyhole. Wham! That's a nice entrance to make. So if any of you get enlightened and want actually to show everyone else that you're not just faking it. We don't have a keyhole here. We can come through the air conditioner, come through one of these vents and everything. That would be sort of pretty impressive. But that became what we call the Ananda method of enlightenment. So, go and take a nap. No, it didn't work this time. You have to try again. But the point is, it was letting go. It was giving up, renouncing, not trying to get something. Letting go of wanting, the thing which moves the leaf, the things which shakes the water, letting that go. Now once you realize stillness is the path, how do we become still? Such a difficult thing not to do anything. And because of that, it's such a difficult thing. Obviously, the way to achieve these things, if you want a better word, is to let go of wanting, let go of trying. But the question keeps coming, how do I let go? And people say, come on, you've been here long enough, let go, let go, let go. I'm going to hit you if you don't let go. That's not letting go. That's the same thing, just forcing. So instead we have this beautiful way of letting go. And you know what it's called? Kindness. The door of my heart is open to my stupidity. Come in. That beautiful kindness, compassion, means that you're not actually judging anything, you're not rejecting anything, you're allowing this moment to be with beautiful kindness. So how does this actually work? So you start by sitting down. Somebody's always gave me another tip. You start to sit down and relax. People find it so hard to relax these days. So we have our what's it called? Skillful means, and we have our little high-tech assistance to be able to allow you to relax. And it is called teddy bear. So, you may be wondering, what are all these teddy bears doing in a Buddhist monastery, in a retreat center? Haven't you ever heard about bear awareness? This is bear awareness. And that happens to be the title of my latest book. I don't think we've got any here yet. But anyway, bear awareness is called. So you take a bear, and you put it in a very high-tech bear, and you put it in your lap, and you cuddle it, and you close your eyes. You relax. It's soft, non-threatening, cuddly. And many of you probably grew up with a teddy bear, no matter what culture you come from. Little teddy bears become very good compassion-generating aids, meditation aids. So you sit down there with a teddy bear in your lap and start feeling your body relax. It's a symbol of kindness, compassion. And so that's why we have them here. And you can, many of them to share. So you put the bear in your lap, you become aware of your body. Because you have to be kind to your body first of all. In Buddhism it's called Kayagata Sati, mindfulness of your body. But it's not just mindful of it, you've got to learn how to relax it, to make it peaceful, to be kind with it. That's the whole purpose of being mindful of your body, so it can be so relaxed you can let it go. If your body is aching and sore, it's very difficult to let go of the body, but we all have aches and pains somewhere. The older you are, the more aches and pains you have. It's just par for the course. That is why, as you know, Suwadi, old people in the northeast of Thailand, the north of Thailand, the word for man is poor, and Mrs. is mare, and so you always call the old people poor oi and mare oi. That's just the general term for elderly people. Not instead of saying aunt and uncle, you say poor oi and mare oi. And the reason is because as soon as they get up, oi, oi, oi. And that's the truth of the matter. So it's par for the course, you're just an old car starts to rattle. So because of that, and anyway, even the young people get aches and pains all over the place because they play extreme sports. Why do you do extreme sports? Especially Buddhists. Haven't you heard about the middle way? Avoiding extremes, but people love extreme this and extreme that. Anyway, we learn how just to relax our body. And when you actually relax the body, you can actually feel the tightness, the tension in the body. How do you relax it? It's from that which I developed over the last year or two, like similarly like a guitar string. You all know a guitar string. If you stretch a guitar string, it's really tight because it's pulled at both ends. Ping, it makes a high-pitched sound. If it's more loose, it makes a low-pitched sound. If it's totally loose, no sound at all. So this is your mind. If it's so, and your body, if it's so tight, small things even injure it. It makes it sort of painful. But if you can just relax your body, imagine you may have a headache, you may have an itchy throat, you may have an ache in the stomach ache or irritable bowel syndrome these days. So, just imagine your bowel is being stretched this way and stretched that way, and a tiny thing happens, bing, and it really resonates. But if your bowel is just so loose, if your heart is just so open and so loose, if your above here is just so open and loose and fresh, then of course it relaxes and becomes very resilient. So that's what, if ever I have an ache or a pain, any sickness, something in my body, that's how I work with it. You're aware of it, aware as possible, and just be kind to it. This beautiful kindness doesn't try and pull it this way, push it that way, try and get rid of things which you don't like. Try and develop it. Just be kind to it. Just like the teddy bear. Even if I squash it, it doesn't say, ow. Even if I put it upside down, it says, that's not really fair. The teddy bear is just so loose, never complains at all. So see if you can have a body like a teddy bear. So loose, so soft, so open, so relaxed, nothing pulling it, no tight pieces anywhere. Then you find your body really relaxes. So when I start to do my meditation, start being aware of my body, feel it, I usually find one place. Actually, today's really good. I think it's because of the rain last night, because I suffer from hay fever. There's always an itch in my throat or my sinuses somewhere. So that's one place I can focus on. I had a nice breakfast this morning, so there's no problem in my tummy. There may be something else somewhere. Soon I'll find something. And then I focus on it. That's my mindfulness, focusing on it. And then the nice thing about mindfulness, it allows you to have feedback. And feedback is just like the temperature on the aircon. You can see the temperature going up, temperature going down. So you adjust it. That's a bit too hot. Or like the speedometer in your car. You know there's policemen with their speed cameras around, so you make sure that, the pressure you put on the accelerator is not too great, not too loose. So you can get the feedback by the movement of the needle on your speedometer. You know actually how much pressure to put on, how much to ease off, just to get the right speed. That's a symbol of mindfulness. It gives you feedback. Some indicator by which you can find out whether you're going too hard or too soft. And that's what we do with our body. You look at the ache or the pain in the body. You look at it mindful. What do you have to do to make it more peaceful? Less of an irritation? Less painful? What do you need to do? And little by little, you learn. You learn how to relax your own body. One of the monks over in Bodhinyana Monastery, I won't say who he was, but he had very serious back pain. Could never really meditate because the pain was just so great in his back. So he went to have an MRI. Doctor found out that had some congenital defect in his spine. Can't operate. So the advice of the doctor was, well, it's probably best not to meditate. That's my life. So, had to meditate. So the doctor couldn't help him. So he found a little book somewhere. And it was learning how to, first of all, develop some mindfulness of muscles on either side of your spine, which most people don't have any awareness of at all because they don't need to. There are muscles on either side of the spine, and he was taught, just to, with his hand, just to rub those muscles on either side of the spine regularly as an exercise, maybe half an hour a day. Because when you're actually touching those muscles on either side of the spine, you're actually becoming aware of them. You're actually making a neural connection in your brain, to the point that he could feel those muscles without needing to touch them. So many of the muscles, parts of your body, you just like your nose. I can feel my nose, my knees. Yeah, I can feel my knees now. But there are some parts of your body you just don't have any connection with at all, because you don't really need to. So many muscles you don't really know about. But he developed that awareness of that part of his body. Once he developed awareness of those muscles, it was just a bit of trial and error to know how to stretch them and then how to relax them. Sometimes you don't know how to do this. It's just like how you relax sort of an irritation in your nasal passages. Try this, try that. But the mindfulness shows you when it's actually working, when you're relaxing, or when it's getting more tense. So after a while, he could move those muscles, just like I move my shoulders, up and down, up and down, up and down. He moved those muscles. He exercised them. And because he exercised them, they got stronger and stronger and stronger, until they're way stronger than the similar muscles in my back, and they totally compensate for the weakness in the spine. Problem solved. It's amazing what we can do. Mindfulness is only the beginning. It gives us a little bit of way that we can find out how to deal with these problems. So, you have an ache in the body, you feel it. How can I sort of lessen that ache, lessen that pain, lessen that irritation? You're always aware, and soon you find out, it's got less painful, less irritating. And you know what you're discovering? What kindness is. Whatever that was, you did. That's what compassion means. That's kindness. What allows things to be. Lessens the negative reactions. Just heals. Kindness is not just, get out of here, you don't belong. I don't like you, pain. Kindness is just letting it be. And you feel that, and it gets less and less and less. And of course, you'll know, I always tell the story when I had a food poisoning, the occupational hazard of a monk or a nun, because we don't know sometimes what we eat. You give it to us, and there's a lot of trust being a monk or a nun. So, anyway, you're very trustworthy, so most of the time it's okay, but every now and again you get tummy ache or food poisoning and stuff. So, when I had my food poisoning, it was really painful. If any of you, I'm not exaggerating, real food poisoning. I was in my cave, other side of the road. Ah! Oh! I'll tell this story just so I could play around. Ah! And it's great when you tell this. Ah! People wake up. Sometimes these stories, you've heard them before, you can read about them, and sometimes it gets a bit boring. So, ah! People wake up. But it was true, it was like that. And so, but just too lazy to go to a doctor. So instead, just focus on it and be kind. Obviously I know how to do this after so many years as a monk. And just looking at the body, the pain, and it got a little bit less, a tiny bit less. And another tiny bit less, and another tiny bit less. And it's 20 minutes, it was all gone. It was really amazing. Just overcoming real food poisoning in 20 minutes. Just happy as a teddy bear afterwards. No pain at all. Of course, being Ajahn Brahm, I was a scientist, so I had to find out, these are bacteria. Real bacteria, that's what food poisoning is. Bacteria multiplying and just creating all sorts of havoc in your digestive tracts. Well, what was the scientific explanation of that? How come there was no sort of irritation anymore? And the answer, what I came up with, it'd be great if I could have some sort of microscope and find out if this was true or not, was all those bacteria Number one, because I was being compassionate and kind, they weren't multiplying, they were keeping their precepts. And number two, I imagine, because the last time I saw a bacteria, just like a blob, with all these little tentacles coming out, like feelers coming out of it. And I imagine all those tentacles sitting cross-legged, all the bacteria meditating. So that means they didn't cause any trouble anymore. So I imagine all these bacteria, which were just going crazy in my digestive tract, were now just quietly meditating, not causing any problem, which is why I didn't get any symptoms of the food poisoning. I'd never seen meditating bacteria before, but who knows? Whatever happened, there's no pain, nothing happened afterwards. And that was a very powerful little story, because I've shared it with so many people. And the case which always really inspires me, that's why I like to tell it a lot, was the lady over in Poland who just had chronic arthritis. And just sometimes you see old people with chronic arthritis, they're deformed because the inflammations on their joints are just so painful. And she wrote saying she had to take these terrible, terrible strong painkillers. She had no choice to get through a day, just 24 hours, one day at a time, but no quality of life. And then she wrote this wonderful letter, which just always makes me emotional whenever I say it. It was just that, thank you so much, followed your advice, and now I don't need any painkillers because no more arthritis. Gone. That was amazing. That you can get something like an arthritis, which I thought was incurable. And just a little bit of meditation, very simple, mindfulness and kindness, vanished totally away. So what we do, you may not have arthritis, I hope, you may not have this or whatever. I should tell people, because I have to announce this, that I found out I'm suffering from a disease, and incurable. It's very contagious too. It's hepatitis B. Not hepatitis, happy-titus. Very, very contagious. Happy-titus Buddhism. So, anyway, there we go. So you're meditating and you learn how to relax your body so much. It gets very deeply relaxed. You find any place which is tight, you would release it with kindness. Mindfulness sees if you're going in the correct direction. If you're going in the wrong direction, it gets worse. Then obviously you're not being kind. You're trying to get rid of something. And then what happens? Your body gets so beautifully relaxed. And something happens next, which I was really trying to encourage people to recognize, that you get the feeling of a delightful body. It's actually very pleasurable to be relaxed. And if you focus on that pleasure, the delight of a relaxed body, it just feels so nice. Your relaxation goes to another level. It goes deeper. It was really weird when I started first doing this, because, I was one of those monks, you got to be tough. Don't indulge. Any pleasure, knock it on the head. Teddy bears, that's for wimps, real meditators. We use scorpions or whatever. So, you found out that that when you are mindful of the delight of a relaxed body, the body gets to a deeper level of relaxation. And that was actually important. I said this, I think, last Wednesday in Bodhinyana Monastery. It's an important insight, because delight is not something to be abandoned and to be afraid of. It actually takes you into very deep states of meditation, very deep states of stillness. So your body is just really nice. And of course, because it's very nice and you delight in it, it gets very relaxed. Now you can start working on your mind, your emotional world. So, what I've been teaching people with mindfulness, to carry on smoothly, from mindfulness on the body to the mindfulness of the mind, and especially what do you mean by the mind? Do what I focus on what I've been calling the peaceometer, like a speedometer, like a thermometer. This is the peaceometer. So, to understand what I mean, right now you can ask yourself, how peaceful am I, or how agitated am I? The opposite of being peaceful. Give it a number from 1 to 10. 1 is really peaceful. 10 is really agitated. Be honest, because you're not going to tell me. And doesn't matter what that number is. It is just a skillful means, a trick for you to become aware of the peaceometer inside of you. Because when you try to look to see how peaceful or how agitated you were, what you were mindful of was your peaceometer. How peaceful are you? How agitated are you? What makes you more peaceful? What makes you more agitated? What moves that needle closer to 1? What moves it away from 1, closer to 10 or 20 or 2,000 when you get really agitated? And if you watch that long enough, it soon becomes quite clear to you when you try and get something, when you want something, when you don't like something, when you're fed up with somebody making too much noise, that when you're fed up with yourself, any negativity, any wanting, moves that needle up. Any letting be, kindness, opening the door of your heart to this moment, getting a teddy bear and stroking the teddy bear. I can feel my peaceometer just go down when you stroke a teddy bear and you give it a nice hug. When you start thinking, stupid Mike, what's teddy bears got to do with meditation? Then your peaceometer goes the opposite direction, more agitated. You can find this out, this direct experience. And for any out and out Buddhists who worry, what's this got to do with meditation? This is the third satipatthana, mindful of the mind, of the citta. That's what you're looking at. Part of the citta, the peaceometer, and finding the cause. What causes agitation? What causes stillness? You're finding it direct, because it's not just letting go. Some years ago, people asked me, well, what is actually kindness? And actually, they were just, I respect them for what they said, because we always assume we know these things, kindness. But a lot of time, people kill out of kindness. You've got to be kind, and I'll beat you until you're kind. It's just terrible what people do because they don't understand what kindness really is. So here you're actually finding out direct insight into what kindness is. Kindness is what creates peace in your mind. And so when you start to investigate this and learn it by trial and error, by your own direct experience, you soon find how to relax your mind and make it peaceful. And you're sitting here just being kind, being peaceful. Of course, it takes time. That's why we got 9 days here. Not 9 days, but 218 hours. Sorry, 216 hours. You've been checking it? Oh, what's that? 12,960 minutes. 720 and something million or whatever seconds. You've got lots and lots of time. So no need to rush. Take it easy. And so we have lots and lots of time to allow the meditation to work. Allow yourself to learn kindness, stillness, what it feels like, peace. Just that amount. There are times when you are here and you're sleepy, especially the first few days, and you're fighting your body, fighting your mind, and you find that you're peaceometer just goes ballistic. Well, I'm trying to meditate. You never get anywhere trying to control your body, control your mind. Be kind to your body, be kind to your mind. Don't abuse it. So what do I mean there? You look at your body, how are you today? Do you feel good? Ready to meditate? Mind, how you feel? There are times when I ask that question and my body says, I need some exercise. So I go for a walk. Listen to your body. It's much wiser than rules and regulations. Be wise to your body. And wise to your mind too. This is again another thing which happens so often when people had interviews. About 3 or 4 or 5 days into the retreat, they come up and say, oh, I'm getting nowhere, my meditation is terrible. And I tell them, go to bed. I can't go to bed. That's not wasting time, that's just indulgence. Go to bed. No, it's terrible, I'll get more sleepy. Go to bed. And they have enough faith in me, they do it. It's amazing. You think that, most of you, if they give you an excuse to go to bed, you'll be in there in a shot. But no, people have this big idea of what they should do, what they shouldn't do. So you go to bed, have a nice rest, don't set the alarm. And then when you get up, have a shower, something to drink, and then you meditate. And my goodness, it was amazing. Just people would come along and say, the best meditation ever. Thank you so much. And I say, why? Because your body was telling you it needs a rest. You're catching up, you're relaxing, instead of trying to force your body. And just no stress, no time you have to get up. You know what it's like, having to go to work or catch a plane, or get up to to go and to a dana somewhere or whatever it is. We get so much force on our poor old body and mind. And sometimes our body and mind can't take anymore. It just needs a rest to relax. So this is the opportunity you have over here. Be wise, be kind. Yeah, you may sleep quite a bit during the first few days, but after you catch up with your sleep, this whole idea of being kind to your body, being kind to your mind, then that will actually just pay off huge amounts in the latter part of your retreat. This lady, years ago, I gave a retreat, Wat Buddha many years ago, and this lady came from Sydney, and she was late, right about midnight. I never saw her, I was in bed at that time. And she told me the following day, sorry, but I got up, came late. I said, wonderful. Now I want you to catch up on your sleep. And she did that. And on the interview, she said, it was amazing. She had these dormitories with 4 or 5 other women. And they would get up for the morning meeting, and she would just roll over in bed. She'd get up for breakfast, and after breakfast, she'd go back to bed again. And she'd get up for lunch, and after lunch take another nap. And she said all the other women she was sharing a room with, they were looking at her with sheer, she said anger. I said, it's not anger, it's jealousy. They wished that they had the guts to do something like that, because they all wanted to do the same. But they thought they weren't allowed to. But she did that. She had my permission. And after 3 days, she caught up. She's an executive, a very stressful job. And so after 3 or 4 days, she caught up. And then, with her sleep. But, meditation wasn't that good on the 4th day. But 5th, 6th day, she started making rapid advances. And by the 6th day, she was basically level with the average. But when it got to the 9th day, wow, she was so far ahead. Star meditator of that retreat. Because she was kind to her body, wise with her body. She knew what her body needed. She was kind. Her peaceometer very quickly got very close to 1. So this is how we create peace. You can feel that. Direct experience, not what's said in the books, not what monks or nuns say, but what you can know directly. It is actually what monks and nuns say. Ajahn Brahm kept on telling me that again and again and again, but I didn't believe him. I thought, no. If you get no pain, no gain. You've got to strive. You've got to put in the hours. You've got to go through pain. You've got to be the tough guy. And just how stupid all that stuff was. Kept on saying, just relax, be kind. And you find then the body and the mind relax. You get very healthy, and also you get very peaceful. So this is what we call establishing mindfulness, with compassion as well, on your body and your mind. And once you're reasonably peaceful and comfortable, then the meditation becomes very delightful. Just like when you feel the delight of a relaxed body, the body gets even deeper into relaxation. When you notice how delightful peace is, stillness is, the stillness is established in you. You're mindful. You don't need the thoughts of the past or the future or questions. You're so relaxed and at peace. Questions don't even arise. You're so happy just being here. You don't need any thoughts. Thoughts are just escapes, something to do, because you don't know anything else. But after a while, those thoughts stop. You don't chase them out. You don't hammer them. You don't kick butt. That's what US Marines do. We're not US Marines. We're Buddhists. Calm, compassionate, wise. So we just learn how to be at peace with things. And then everything becomes really calm and still. So that's the beginning of our meditation. Of course, there's much more to be said. There's all about watching the breath, but that's enough to begin with. For today, be aware of your body, be kind, relax it. Watch your peaceometer, get to understand what this peaceometer is, develop its awareness of the peaceometer, and that will mean you know how to sit here and be peaceful. What makes you more peaceful, what makes you agitated? Get to know that, and that will be a great foundation for meditation coming later. And you can do your walking meditation in there. If you want to know how to do walking meditation, it's so easy. You know how to walk? Yeah, great. Then that's all you need to know. Start at the beginning, walk to the end, and come back again. And you ask, what am I doing this for? No reason. Watch your peaceometer and see what you need to do to make your peaceometer very still. It's so many people want to what am I doing this for? What do I get out of this? And that's the walking meditation is great because you don't get where you start off, that's where you end up. That's so deep about life. You start off, with no teeth. You finish off with no teeth. You start off with nappies, you end up with nappies. You start off, don't know anything, and after a while you forget everything you ever knew. So, we all go around in a circle, samsara. So that's just like a beautiful thing. What are you trying to get to in life? Everything you ever achieved will be forgotten. All your degrees, all your knowledge, all of your status will all start to disappear. Just like you start at the beginning, you go to the end, you turn around, you come back to where you started from. What's really important is your peace, your calmness, your kindness. So as you walk, every step, a moment of peace and kindness. Just being here. Don't try and get somewhere. Okay, so that's enough for now. Any questions, complaints, you can put them in the question box and they'll be incinerated before they have a chance to be answered. No, they won't. Okay, so have a nice morning, and sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, lots of freshly blessed. Anyone want the freshly blessed one? Go in quickly. I'll leave it over here. Lots of nice teddy bears. Okay, have a nice morning. The lunch is 11 o'clock. And 11 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah, that's right, yeah. And see you this afternoon.